I'm going to survive 100 days in Project Zomboid with no mods. I spawned in naked and proceeded as every Project Zomboid start goes, looting the first house. I thought I was near Louisville, but I wasn't quite sure yet. Venturing outside, I encountered my first zombie and took it out. I stripped the corpse of clothes and moved on to the second house. After fighting through some zombies, I grabbed a frying pan, foraging volume 2 book, a beanie, a school bag, and a rifle. As night fell, I foraged for sticks and stones, hoping to craft spears. I retrieved a knife from a zombie corpse, but it wasn't sharp enough for crafting. The day ended with some squats, canned food, and reading my new book. Waking up early, I set my sights on a nearby car. One caught me off guard, scratching my foot through the fence. Limping away, I tended to my wounds and looted the third house. There was no key and the battery was dead, as it had been 6 months since the outbreak. I found a Woodcraft VHS, meat cleaver,
hello there,
canned goods, and 2 sticks of butter, perfect for gaining some much needed weight. I could use the meat cleaver to craft spears, so I made a few and headed south to test them out. The spears broke too quickly, and my low maintenance skill meant the spears broke just after 5 to 10 hits, so I switched back to the meat cleaver. The day ended with some more looting, a pair of military boots, a torch, and more canned goods, which I promptly devoured. Continuing my zombie clearing spree up north, I found a park ranger hat.
wow,
Perfect fit, but my luck ran out when 2 stray zombies got the drop on me.
It's happening! Everybody stay calm!
what's the
Everybody
procedure,
stay calm.
everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Leaving me with a laceration on my right forearm. Worried about infection, I headed back to rest and waited for any telltale moodles. I was playing on the 6 months later preset, unaware of what the mortality rate was set to, so I spent the day alternating between squats and reading my foraging book. Unable to sleep due to the pain, I practiced reloading an M9 pistol I found on a police officer to pass the time. Sleep continued to elude me, so I spent the early hours organising my gear and finishing the foraging book, later moving on to farming volume 1. I completed it as the sun rose. It was now 11 AM, and I still hadn't slept. Desperate for rest, I focused on my fitness. I did endless squats. It worked. I finally passed out as night fell, grateful for some shut-eye thanks to my exhaustion. My wakeful trait had me up at 4:30 AM, needing less sleep to catch up. I felt like I was fighting a losing battle in my current location, and I had a better idea of where I was now. Realising I wasn't in the best spot and in need of a better weapon, I decided to head east, where I hoped to find a hunting lodge near a shooting range, potentially stocked with guns. So I headed out. As I arrived at the overrun drag race track, I knew exactly where I needed to go. I arrived at the overrun lodge and started shouting to gather nearby zombies, attempting to draw them away. I grabbed a wrench from a broken down car, manoeuvring through the woods, losing the majority of the horde among the trees. I was getting very thirsty at this point, so I repeated the same move and lost the zombies in the woods. While clearing out stragglers, I got another scratch.
You suck!
this time on my thigh. While looting, I upgraded to a hunting vest that'll come in handy as the weather gets colder, and swapped my school bag for a duffel bag from a zombie I killed outside. Exhausted from the long day, I ate some high-calorie butter, filled up my water bottle, and crashed on a chair I took from the lounge. Tomorrow, I set my sights on the shooting range. I got up before dawn and immediately headed over to the shooting range. There are only a few zombies, probably migrated from my roundup yesterday. I found a shotgun, upgrading it with a choke and ammo straps for better aiming and reloading. Still in bad shape from my laceration, I spent a lot of the afternoon leveling nimbling, reloading skills by shuffling around, loading and unloading the shotgun. I hit level 2 in reloading, squeezing in workouts between practice sessions. The day ended with me reading Electronics Volume 1, mentally prepared for tomorrow's zombie clearing spree. Waking to all my injuries healed, I removed the bandages and proceeded to organise my inventory, taking as much shotgun ammo as I could carry. I wasn't far from a small town, and figured I could clear it using the shotgun. I was lucky enough to have just enough bullets to deal with the horde the day before.
That didn't scare me.
My first stop was the local bar for all the bourbon and beer I could find.
Look at that speed.
While searching for a better melee weapon, I heard an unfamiliar sound. The dreaded helicopter event had begun. A wave of panic set in as I quickly ran to the slew of dead bodies, remembering some of them had weapons lodged in them. I was elated to find a machete, and secondly, a lead pipe. But the zombies didn't seem to come. After all, the area was pretty much clear at this point because of last night. They did start migrating, however. I grabbed a ranger jacket from one of the stragglers that had wandered in, clearing out more as they emerged from the tree line, realising I was in trouble. I was trying my best to deal with the horde that had massed, but it only snowballed and decided the shooting range would probably still be deserted. But boy was I wrong. Attempting to lose what was following me in the trees, there was no place of safety, and my energy levels were getting low. It then dawned on me I had some bourbon from the bar, so I quickly ripped up some sheets and created a Molotov cocktail.
Controlled fires are out of the question.
People who
They're
use
too
this
effective at
method
killing large hordes of
are
zombies
absolute
and are,
creepy
to be honest,
who are too afraid to
extremely
get
boring.
into actual combat.
There was still a sizable number outside the motel. My sleep schedule was now ruined and I needed to act fast before it was dark, so I left the local area and attempted to find safety in a storage unit just to the north. I managed to lose the large horde following me as I arrived at the units. Hopping the fence, I realised there were too many inside to deal with, especially given my low fitness level. I'd get fatigued and hit like a wet fish so quickly. So I led the zombies to the northwest side of the compound and managed to lose them before holding up in one of the units on the opposite side. Safe at last, I realised I had nothing to sleep on except the floor, and I wasn't tired enough for that yet, so I waited for the sun to come up, hoping to reset my body clock. The first order of business was to grab a chair I could sleep on and fill up my water bottle. I then looted the open units in the morning. Now I'd been practicing the speed swing method.
You need to start swinging your weapon at least once, and right before one of your next swings starts, you start pushing your spacebar key very quickly, okay? You need to fucking spam it.
I needed to master this skill if I was to handle the droves of zombies, but my poor trait choices and low fitness made this difficult. I spent some time practicing the technique on zombies before continuing to loot the unlocked storage containers. I managed to find a few decent melee weapons, a screwdriver, some padded pants, and to my surprise, a generator and a sledgehammer. Elated with my find, I unloaded all the loot at my storage unit. I spent a lot of the afternoon working out, trying to get to at least fitness level 4. The day ended with a few swigs of bourbon to help me drift off and finally reset my sleep schedule. I woke up super early, taking stock of my situation. Although I had the machete and a few other notable weapons, the fast weapon swing is well suited to two-handed weapons, not to mention my experience boost with axes as the park ranger. The plan was to head over to the nearby warehouses to grab the tools I'd need and hopefully an axe or two. As I headed over, I noted the small number of zombies that got in my way. I had a theory that most of the zombies from this area had now migrated over to the small town I had cleared before, making it much easier to loot the warehouse. I dealt with the zombies in the local vicinity and headed inside to the warehouse stocked full of supplies. Notably, I found all the tools I needed to build a solid base, a pickaxe, a hand axe, and most importantly, 2 pitchforks, the holy grail of all weapons. I then headed outside to examine the cars in the parking lot. I was lucky enough to find 2 keys on the floor, but none of the cars had petrol or any battery. I did, however, take some time applying some camo makeup I found in one of the cars. Now, I hadn't formulated much of a plan at this point, but I wasn't far from the quarantine zone. I knew of a good base spot I wanted to use, and with the sledgehammer, that would be my goal. So I turned my attention to the military checkpoint close by, for shotgun ammo and a bag to carry all the equipment. Luckily, the actual checkpoint wasn't too full of zombies. I was lucky enough to find 2 ghillie suits. I put on a pair of trousers, decided to put up my hood, and don a pair of reflective sunglasses. I was eager to get a backpack, and luck was on my side. I ended up making the small caravan my base for the night. There was plenty of food and water to keep me going, as I wanted to loot as much shotgun ammo as I could. I started the day off dismantling the various items and headed south to the communications and quarantine zone to obtain level 1 electrical for vehicle hot wiring. Having looted as much shotgun ammo as I could carry, I headed back towards the warehouse. It was clear I could see the migration paths of the zombies as they flooded in the same direction through the trees. The warehouse would soon be overrun, and I didn't want to exert too much energy fighting the horde. I grabbed the second pitchfork and the hand axe and began walking back towards the storage units. When I woke, I packed up as many supplies as possible and headed on my journey to the quarantine zone. Eventually, I arrived and took the fence down. There was little resistance, but I was over encumbered with the sledgehammer, so I decided to drop it and clear out the zombies. Eventually, I arrived at the soon-to-be base with only one zombie inside.
My time has come.
I bashed down the door, dealt with it, and dropped off my supplies. I then got a workout in and organised a bit. In the afternoon, I headed back west to loot the army supply camp. Still no M16, but I did find a generator that I bought back. I was glad for the safety, allowing the morning to turn into the afternoon, and I was getting thirsty. One of the issues out here was going to be water. I headed back up to grab the sledgehammer so I could open up the gate and headed into the mysterious burned down town. There were plenty of sinks, toilets, and baths that had fresh clean water. I just needed to make sure I had enough bottles. I decided to search the burnt down houses for a bit to see if there are any other supplies of note. The town was almost quiet, bar a few. I managed to find an old alcohol shop, which would keep me going for a long while as it was stocked with bourbon and wine. I got a workout in the afternoon and spent some time taking it easy. I got straight to making my way to the camp in the east of the quarantine zone, with the sledgehammer in hand. I decided to drop off the sledgehammer near the fence I planned to remove in the middle. This road was very long and it would be easier to enter the south of Louisville from here. The plan was to head to a strip of shops just north, which would net me a good set of guns, tools, and food. It took me all day to walk to the other military checkpoint, and it was nearly dark by the time I arrived. I had underestimated the distance as I had no map, and my water was running low, so I checked the tents, but they only had military supplies. I decided to clear out the remaining tents, loot what I could, and sleep. There were a couple of farmhouses not far from here that I could head over to early in the morning and grab a drink. By the time I arrived at the house, it was daytime. I didn't spend much of my time dealing with the zombies, but rather herding them, just so I could grab some water for my trip home. When I got back, I took stock, realising I was prepared for the next excursion. But I still had one issue if I was going to take on the droves of zombies that inhabited an insanely populated Louisville.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
My fitness level 3. I shifted my focus to the strip of shops to the north. I made my way over to the local farm fair, encountering several zombies. The high fitness level was already proving its worth. I found a farmhouse near the fair and methodically cleared it room by room. After looting what supplies I could find, I decided to sleep in the house for the night. Tomorrow would bring another killing spree, but for now, I needed rest. I headed straight over to the shops in the morning. I wasn't quite ready to use the shotgun yet, so I led the horde away before entering the gun store. Once inside, I grabbed a new shotgun and as much ammo as possible. I took a moment to fill my water bottle and collect my thoughts. After clearing the area, I decided to check the cars. I found one with a key in pretty decent condition with fuel and battery. Yes! I continued checking cars up the street while looting everything I could from the gun store. The back seats and boot were soon packed with supplies. Finally having a car would change everything. After spending the early hours unloading supplies, I woke up around 10 AM and continued organising the base. Worried about another zombie migration, I headed straight back to the strip of shops in the afternoon. I stopped by the checkpoint first and grabbed some camping supplies before moving on. The shops yielded more guns, alcohol and tools, everything I'd need to turn the base into a proper compound. I swung by the local fire station on the hunt for more axes. I grabbed a single fire axe, a firefighter's outfit and some extra food before heading back. I started the day with my usual squats, though getting to the next fitness level needed 18,000 XP.
No! God, please, no!
After organising supplies for a few hours, I decided to check out the military checkpoint section of the quarantine zone. I had to ditch the car and go on foot. I couldn't help but notice how the surrounding town was completely burnt down. Maybe they tried to contain Patient Zero by purging the whole area with fire. Each house was set up as a military base camp, furniture scattered outside, computers and medical equipment everywhere. Not much useful stuff left, except some ammo boxes and canned food. I grabbed a few more lockers and crates before heading home. The base was starting to feel like home, but there was still major work to be done. Fucking hell. Fuck, shit. After organising supplies all morning, it was time to start upgrading the base. I'd need tons of wooden planks for what I had planned. I grabbed some sheet rope from nearby zombie corpses and started chopping down trees. In the late evening, I made one last run to the military camp for more lockers and crates, then called it a day. The car I'd found was decent, but it could only take a few hits from zombies. The sheer number made contact inevitable, not to mention my occasional mishaps. The hood was in bad condition, and I lacked the skills to fix it. I planned a run into South Louisville to search for supplies, and most importantly, Mechanics Volume 1. The city was swarming. I jumped out and tried luring zombies away from the mechanic shop. After clearing some of the locals, I took a breather and worked out in the shop's office. I spent time searching for batteries, a charger, and any mechanics books. Even if I couldn't repair cars yet, getting mechanics to level 2 would let me hotwire them. I loaded my supplies and thought about hitting the mall's bookstore, but quickly changed my mind as darkness fell. Better to return in the morning with the shotgun and thin out the horde first. I started early, popping off shots to draw attention. A huge horde had gathered, so I led it into the woods before making another attempt at the mall.
Oh, bad idea. Fucking bad idea. Oh my god, terrible idea.
The mall was a complete bust. There were way too many zombies. I then tried a nearby gated community, hoping for better luck. Maybe with better traits and higher fitness, I could have managed it, but I had forgotten how painfully slow vanilla Project Zomboid makes fitness leveling, so I took very underweight, and this kind of screwed me for most of the run. The car was getting worse, so I started hunting for a replacement in the quieter east neighbourhoods.
Oh, survivor house.
I found a survivor's house and cleared out the zombies, scoring another axe among the useful weapons. Getting late, I headed to a gated lot with 3 houses nearby, figuring I'd hunker down there. I thought the enclosed space meant I could safely use my shotgun.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Instead, I attracted every zombie in the area, obviously. I followed up with a Molotov to help clear them out. When the last zombie finally stopped burning, all I could hear was the wind rustling through the trees. I I woke up later than usual, deciding to make this spot home until I could find a better car. After heading to the second house and looting what I could find, I managed to level up my short blade skill, one of the most underrated weapons of Project Zomboid. I spent the afternoon working out, then cleared the final house of the 3, making sure to grab all the food I could carry. Before bed, I unloaded my supplies, moved the car to a safer spot and got in some squats. After trimming my beard in the morning, I went hunting for cars. I found a fire truck with a key, but it was beaten up and had nothing worth looting. I decided the truck would still work for practicing mechanics, so I hooked it up to my car and drove them both back to the base. In the afternoon, I found a car in great condition.
Scratch bleeding.
No fucking way. But with no key and no hot wiring skills yet, it was useless to me. Each search was wearing down my current car even more.
This needs to stop now.
I headed back to the base for the afternoon, got some exercise in, and read Carpentry Volume 2, planning ahead for when I'd reinforce the main base. I went straight back in the morning to check out that mint condition car, hoping to find a key in the nearby house. After clearing the zombies and searching the house with no luck, I got in a quick workout before heading back out. My search led me to a parking lot packed with cars. Most were in rough shape, with or without keys. Good thing I had some spare batteries from earlier runs. Then I spotted it, a Spiffo van in great condition.
I gotta tell you, it was perfect.
Unfortunately, none of the good cars had keys. I settled for moving my gear and battery into the green car I'd found earlier. With all these cars and no keys, there was only one solution, the VHS store. I managed to grab the tapes I needed to reach Mechanics Level 2, and even better, on the way back, I found a katana lodged in a zombie.
No fucking way.
Now I just needed a generator, but I'd forgotten to grab the book from the bookstore.
So, what's the plan?
Right.
Head to the bookstore, grab the book, connect the generator, power on the TV, and hotwire the Spiffo van.
How's that for a slice of fried gold?
Yeah, boy!
Back at the house, another zombie showed up with a katana stuck in it.
Another katana. What is going on?
I barely got any sleep, and after cleaning myself up, I settled in to watch Carzone while reading and finally hit Mechanics Level 2. I painted my face and headed straight for the Spiffo van, clearing the area, transferring my gear, and hotwired it.
Okay!
There was a white pickup truck too, so I grabbed that and hit the nearby fire station for access. Only found one, plus some medical supplies and food. Before heading back, I checked the nearby gun store for an M16. Broke down a wall to get in, but still no luck finding one. Did grab a pinball machine though. I hooked the Spiffo van to the truck and headed home, loaded with supplies and my new hot wiring skills. Spending the early morning organising everything, I had most of the books and supplies I needed to upgrade the base, plus a van with enough boot space for all the logs I'd need. I hadn't slept since yesterday, so I crashed for a bit. Waking up to the generator humming made the base feel properly secure. In the evening, I made one last run to the West Military Camp, grabbed more lights, and finished unloading supplies, prepared to upgrade the base tomorrow. I still needed Carpentry Volume 3, so I headed back to the mall in South Louisville. I tried grabbing what I needed and booking it, but between the injury and the ever-growing horde, it wasn't happening. I had to bail. The mall continued to elude me.
Man, at least I didn't die, but it's just like, fuck, dude.
With the injury rendering me useless, I started working on the fitness level 5 grind.
Boring!
With my wounds healed, I was ready for another attempt at the carpentry book. I grabbed my shotgun and headed out into the building snowstorm. I started firing as soon as I got there, drawing every zombie I could see. Once I had their attention, I led them away before doubling back.
Boom, baby. That's just how you do it.
I managed to loot the bookstore in about 4 hours flat. I spent the rest of the day buried in the carpentry book, ready to power level my skills. I started to lay out the wall foundation in the early hours. Later on, I made a bigger opening in the fence. I'd need tons of wood for what I had planned. My sleep schedule was completely backwards at this point, and I crashed in the afternoon. I spent the morning finishing Carpentry Volume 4 and doing my usual workout. I wrapped up the book by midday, watched the last woodworking episode, and then used the remaining daylight to work on the outer walls. In need of supplies for the garage gate, sheet rope, hinges, and doorknobs, I opened up the north gate and explored the burned down town. I scored some sweets and medical supplies, but the real find was access to a petrol pump. The evening was spent chopping logs. I had to be careful though, as I hadn't secured this side of the town yet. A few zombies wandered in, so I parked the Spiffo van to block the opening before calling it a night. After yesterday's breach, I wanted to make sure the area was completely clear. Nothing showed up except for a few zombies stuck on the fence, which I quickly dealt with. As the fog rolled in, the place felt eerie. Later that day, I turned my attention back to finishing the base construction. The garage tiles I grabbed weren't vibing with me, so I hit the Knox Bank for their sleek black tiles. I started prying them up, but quickly realised it wasn't worth the effort. Each tile weighed too much and there were too many zombies around. I then headed back to the stripper shops instead, spending the afternoon grabbing furniture and new clothes. After organising everything back at the base, I decided the original tiles weren't so bad, so I grabbed more from nearby to finish the floor. I wrapped up the day with some bourbon before bed. I awoke feeling like a change, dyeing my hair jet black and giving it a trim. The farm fair had been a pain point every time I headed to Louisville, always full of zombies getting in my way, so it was time to clear it out properly. I decided to loot the local houses, finding some decent furniture. A comfy chair, a nice carpet, and a bedside table. The place was finally starting to feel like home. I needed supplies to plaster the new walls I had built, and I knew there was a decent van near the west warehouse we had cleared previously, so I headed out early morning with plenty of shotgun ammo. I was exhausted at this point. I could barely swing my axe at the stragglers and had to resort to the classic fence dodge tactic. I finally cleared the last 2 zombies inside, grabbed a chair and crashed in the toilet. While searching the corpses, I found a new Ranger hat. I hadn't seen one since losing mine ages ago. The mail van wasn't pristine, but beat my dying Spiffo van. The engine was decent enough, so I swapped over the batteries and transferred all my gear.
Goodbye, my lover.
I loaded up on plaster, paint and farming supplies from the warehouse before heading back. Morning inspection confirmed what I feared. Those crashes had done a number on the van. I really needed to level metalworking, but without mods, that'd take forever. I made attempts to mix the plaster only to realise I had no bucket, so I headed back to the warehouse. I took the opportunity to grab some more outdoor lights while I was there, the bucket I desperately needed and extra paint. I got the lights installed and started plastering. I ran out of black paint with one wall left. Naturally, back to the shops I went. The tool shop had supplies, but no black paint. I then checked some of the houses for furniture while I was there. I grabbed a generator on the way back, redecorated the second floor bedroom, and swapped in a brown sofa downstairs. Water was getting low in town, so I started planning a reservoir. When I woke, I hit the farm fair for some rain barrels in the morning and grabbed a scarecrow too. I then spotted a decent car, perfect timing since the white van was dying. With my hot wiring skills, swapping vehicles beat trying to repair them. I set up the barrels for the reservoir, then chopped more logs to build the final 4 barrels. The whole day was spent hauling water from the town to fill the reservoir. Not much else happened. My daily workout routine continued. With the reservoir done, it was time to hunt down the missing black paint can. A third trip to the warehouse, although I'd figured I'd cleared it out already. Luck was on my side, found the can almost straight away. I still wasn't very happy with the garage tiles, so I swung by the trailer park on my way back. The zombies kept pouring out of the trees. I couldn't handle those numbers, and I thought it would only have a few inhabitants. After losing them and catching my breath, I checked the homes. The tiles were exactly what I wanted, clean, white and simple. I took out the stragglers, loaded the car with tiles and headed home. I got them laid down and finally painted that last wall black. I hadn't slept yet, but I only needed those last few tiles, so I grabbed a jerry can and headed to the farm fair on foot, planning to steal another van for the haul back. I got the final tiles installed, organised my gear, then crashed for some well-earned rest. The snow had finally melted, birds were chirping, and spring was coming. I spent the morning just admiring my work and adding a few finishing touches. I used the last hours of the day reinforcing the reservoir overhang. The early morning was just crate moving and supply organising. I then ran out of crates, so after a quick nap, I headed back to the quarantine zone for more. I got the crates laid out and made a proper tile floor using the leftover tiles, clearing up the winter-killed outdoor farm and built a cosy campfire spot. I then tried sectioning off the firing range with barbed wire, but I only had a couple of pieces. I needed more wire. Gearing up with fresh battle paint, I took the black car to check some nearby warehouses. While fighting the locals, I spotted a pristine van. Cutting through the zombie crowd to reach it, I got a laceration thanks to some Project Zomboid jank. Not ideal with the horde nearby, but the van had keys and fuel, a lucky break. I then tried looting the warehouse, but there was way too many Zeds. Calling it quits with the laceration and new van, I still managed to scuff it up on the drive back. I grabbed farming sacks from the warehouse and then hit the jackpot, a survivor house with an axe, baseball bat and somehow a third katana.
Why are you the way that you are?
It was now time to get the farm started. I hauled the dirt up to the roof and planned out the crops layout. Going for variety, I planted tomatoes, potatoes and cabbages. I got everything planted and watered, using the leftover water to clean myself up. The last thing needed was that barbed wire fence. There was one warehouse to the north of Louisville that might have what I needed, but getting there would be tricky. All my vehicles were beat up, chances of making the trip were slim, but the brewery on the way would have some trucks I could steal if needed. I knocked down the last fence section for car access, filled up at the pump, and spent the day prepping. An early start and fresh snow on the ground. The car's engine was barely hanging on. Every zombie hit made me wince. I just about made it to the brewery and found some decent trucks. Once cleared, I jumped in a decent van in the brewery and hotwired it on the spot. The warehouse wasn't too overrun. After clearing it out, I loaded up on all the barbed wire I could. Making it home victorious, the van was already falling apart. I then got that final fence up and called it done. Waking up late, all those daily workouts were paying off. I was nearly at fitness level 5. I checked on the growing crops, then back to the grind. Note to self, never take very underweight without mods again. All my cars were trashed, and metalworking was next on the grind list, but I needed some books, so I headed back to the school I cleared earlier. Perfect chance to test out my new fitness level, and that katana. The whole day was spent clearing the area. I found most of the books I missed, grabbed some furniture on the way back out, and organised everything. There I was, food stockpiled, crops growing, spring coming, and a sturdy base full of entertainment. What else could a survivor need? The mall was still bothering me, the one I'd failed to clear multiple times. With better fitness, and thousands of zombies under my belt, I was ready to try again. I headed to a pawn shop northwest of the mall with an upstairs apartment, the perfect temporary base. Time to finish what I started. Well, I guess that finally explains what I'd set the mortality rate to. Most deaths don't bother me in Project Zomboid. It's about the journey and not the destination. Though I'll admit, playing without mods gets pretty grindy, and I almost welcome the death. But that's the beauty of Project Zomboid, right? It's a true sandbox where you can adapt the game to how you want to play. If there's something you don't like, chances are there's either a sandbox setting or a mod for that. The devs understand that everyone wants to experience the apocalypse differently, and they've made it so easy to mod the game. I can't wait to see what new mods Build 42 brings, and I'll probably wait until the full release to jump back in. Anyway, thanks for watching, maybe I'll make another video soon.